right, Brickmaniacs, so we got the F-14 here. This is the inaugural print shop episode of Brickmania's Designer Studio. So who else but Printmaster Slam joining me here in the studio to talk a little bit about these epic arts included onto this already epic build. So where would you like to start, Slam? Did you have a favorite in particular that you wanted to dive into a little bit, or is it just kind of all-encompassing?
This is a really cool project to work on because we've done an F-14 before,
sure,
right? And the last one we did came with additional stickers, and one of the stickers I included was a Felix Tomcatter's symbol for the back.
Okay.
So it was nice to be able to revisit this kit again, like 4 or 5 years later, and really give it a full print job versus stickers, a limited aspect work that we did way back when.
Because this cross-element printing, that was not even close to a capability back when you were first working on this initial model.
No, not at all. And it's only something that we've been brave enough to and confident enough to do in the last year or so that we're willing to cross-element print a whole tail. And like
on both sides.
We're not going to ruin thousands of parts in the process, right? But we can reliably knock these things out now. To the point of being confident enough to say, and we'll do it double-sided, which was kind of a surprise when we were doing the research for this. So absolutely my favorite part is revisiting the old Felix logo on the back for the Tomcatters. And this is also what we took our art from, was from a very specific point in time, 2006, 2007, when the Tomcatters were in Iraq on their last deployment.
The final flight, so to speak.
Yeah, so the last time out with the F-14, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the last deployment of any of the F-14s. There was 2 squadrons on that cruise, and they were the last ones to retire their planes.
Wow.
From the Navy. So that was kind of why we chose this also. It was an important, significant mission, like for this beautiful plane that we lived with for 20-some years.
Yeah, an American icon to say the least.
Yep, we all grew up with Top Gun, loving this plane, right? So this is a very specific point in time with the VF-31 in Iraq, 2006, and this is the Keg bird. So this is plane 100 or 00, and he's by the end of the mission. There's a great video of them flying into Florida, like landing their planes for the last time.
Little ceremony.
And at that point in time, like the tails actually had gained extra stuff. Like there was the E in the middle of the bomb on the Felix, and they had 2 more awards along the bottom of the tail too. So, and then looking at other footage from that cruise, like 3 months earlier, only 2 awards. So
interesting.
This is from a very specific point in time where they're still actively dropping bombs on Iraq.
Okay.
Okay. Or patrolling Iraq.
Which is the reason they call it the Bombcat.
The Bombcat, yes. You see the Felix Bombcat on the fuel tanks here, and also there's a great diving Tomcat on the side of the fuselage there.
That's what the little one is?
Yeah, and he's tossing a bomb.
That's awesome.
You know, a little mission signifier that this has dropped at least one successful bomb run. And I really appreciate that tiny little extra print on the side of the fuselage there, or the nose.
Printing-wise in general, you talk a little bit about the capabilities of being able to do multi-surface or cross-element prints. How much has just your ability to really capture all of the artwork on a specific plane been kind of unhinged with the new print capabilities? Like, do you find yourself less and less having to don't go too detailed, or roll back a little bit on this because you're trying to keep that print count down for these certain models? Are you really able to just kind of go into all of it?
There are certain models where Dan is like, go for it.
Yeah.
And says, do what you think needs doing to get the detail all over the plane. And this is one of those models where I got the green light to just do everything that you think is necessary.
Sweet.
And that feels great for me, and I love doing it because I can really spend the time making something as detailed as possible. And there's other kits that we are constantly pulling back and trying to keep the price point low because it's expensive to do a kit with this much printing.
What is necessary versus what is just kind of a little extra. This is definitely one where the full shebang was necessary.
I think so. Yep. And I think people responded well. Like, we've sold very well with these, and it turned out beautiful.
It's interesting how well the yellows on both sides and then match with the top on the bricks there. Is that a challenge to try to get your art colors once they're actually printed in on Lego elements to match the other elements that aren't printed but do represent that same color?
Yes,
I bet.
Color matching is a huge part of my job. And other challenging things is printing on curved surfaces. Our printers like to print flat things, so there's lots of challenges that come along anytime curves are involved, because I have to account for print warping that happens across a curve. And we see that on the lantern pod on this side. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Printing on the front of those domes that have these really extreme curves to them can absolutely distort a print, and we have to account for that. But color matching to Lego is something that we sometimes do, especially if if that color does appear in brick form. Yeah, we absolutely have to try and do that.
When printing on a curved surface, is it kind of like a math equation? Like, are you working with vectors to ensure that they show up on the screen in a way that is actually for a wrapped surface, so to speak?
Like, you can lay down ink, see what it does, how it distorts, and then try and build a counter distortion into your art ahead of time.
Okay, interesting.
So at least that's my trick. Other people that print on Lego go out and also build counter distortions for curved surfaces. Like, I empower you to do that and make everything look better. But yeah, color consistency is great. Being able to print something that has a significant print drop is something that we're always challenged with, because we want to print on all sorts of things that we don't like to print. One of the things that we would not have tried a year ago is this canopy. Like,
Sure, okay.
You notice that. This cool double canopy here has got printing along the side and across the top. And the only reason we were able to do this, we've tried to print canopies a lot in the past. But this
some
one,
with success, some without.
Right, and it's extremely challenging to get prints to match up. But this one happens to be a perfect half cylinder. So we can put two back to back in the printer and roll print the whole darn thing. And then, thanks to Camera Guy, we were able to 3D print some extras to make sure that we don't have ink blowing everywhere inside the canopy. So hopefully your canopies turned out really clean and you're happy with them. But
this one certainly looks great.
I think we had a lot of luck with that. And if we run into this particular shape again, we will probably bring that back, because it worked really well. Yeah.
So since tackling some of these new print techniques, how much are you guys kind of making a little playbook? You know, with like when you come up to a new model that's got a similar part and a similar art requirement, are you kind of like, all right, how did we go back and do that for that canopy? Let's see if we can mirror something now in this V2, so to speak?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Like, the experience it pays off, and the next time around it becomes not a challenge, and it's just something that we can easily do. As long as people remember that we've done it in the past.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure.
But
so you also designed the minifigs for these guys?
I did.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Some 2006 Pacific fighter pilots with their Iraq desert-colored jumpsuits, helmets, a great 3D printed mask, courtesy of Amanda, and just a basic loadout. This is not a super dangerous. They wouldn't need like the full survival gear that they might on some missions. So, so they're fairly lightly loaded, but a pretty decent survival vest. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how the helmet turned out. The printing on that is...
Yeah, no kidding. Was that all done in one shot, or did you have to do that on 3 different... I mean, how did that work?
That is 4 prints to get that helmet to that level of detail. And that's pretty common for our helmets. If you ever see our helmets that have camouflage that go all over, it's usually 4 prints. Sometimes we can do it in 3, but that again explains why these things get as expensive as they do. It's incredibly time consuming to first make the helmet and then print it 4 times accurately. And that's just the way life in the print shop is. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who, when they look at that kind of stuff, they don't necessarily notice, like, what would be so tough about this? You know what I mean? But when you really dissect what it takes to get those prints all to work, it's kind of like, oh, now I'm starting to understand more of what I'm actually seeing.
Yeah, we're working on a printer that wants to print flat things, and we're printing very small round things with it. So
enough said.
Right off the bat, it's not going to be easy. Other fun things that our printers do: if you print a curved surface, it tends to bounce ink off of it.
Right.
As often as
and
it
who knows where
catches.
that ink's going to go?
Right. So bouncing ink is one of the pitfalls of UV printing that we run into all the time too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, in relation to the F-14, any other prints in particular you want to go over? Or?
We've got inside the plane, we have some of my favorite ejection seats that I've ever done. Yeah, we've got an Aces 2 ejection seat, 2 of them, and with some really, really clean art. There's also 2 instrument panels in there, one for the pilot and one for the Rio. Those are some of my favorite things to just bury a whole bunch of time into.
That's where we usually find the iconic Slam Easter eggs, is hidden within the cockpits.
No Easter eggs in this guy. That is true. Like if there's a screen, I will probably hide something in it.
It's always one of the things that people comment on when they're building is like, I caught the Easter egg, which is always cool to see.
Oh, things that don't get, really wasn't mentioned in the build-up to this, but this plane is equipped with an air brake system.
So some underside.
Sure, let's print the undersides of some plates.
That's what I was thinking.
Dan said. So, flashing red. Like the internals of the plane are pretty well marked out in red, and you see that on the slats also. We hid some red plates in there because, again, it's only exposed if you only see it if it's actuated. So, same with the air brakes; it's all red inside, and also. We candy striped our arrestor hook, which I think is just delightful. Like, not something you notice when you first, unless you look close at the model or someone's showing it off, which I'm doing.
Well, and those are definitely some of those details that while you're in the process of building, you appreciate because you're like, hey, even if I'm not displaying my build to showcase this print in general, I get to see it, that it's on there, and I know it's there because I put it together.
Yeah. And it's great working like closely with Dan. But get to ask questions like, Dan, where's the flare dispenser on an F-14? And he says, oh, I don't know. And so we did some research and figured out that it lives right next to the arrestor hook. So there's just one more tiny little print on the back there. Between an air brake and the arrestor hook is our flare dispenser. So just one extra little print. It's great.
Just kind of like the gun on the front here, too. Just another little thing.
Did we print the gun?
Right here.
Oh, yeah, we did. Forgot about that. Yeah, we switch over to the flat silver part there and just a little bit of ink on it to give it that gun shape. It's nice.
Yeah, some awesomely epic details, no doubt.
Congrats to everybody that got one of these. This is a beautiful model, in my opinion, and I hope you like it as much as we do.
Cool. Well, thanks for talking over the prints. This is kind of a new endeavor for this channel here, but we wanted to start off some print shop episodes, mostly so that we can get a look at some of these models that have a little bit more extensive printing, and then obviously have the artist behind them showcase them, but then also a little bit so that we can talk about various challenges and whatnot so that people understand a little bit more what actually goes into taking this digital artwork and having it actually appear in a cohesive form on a Lego build. So that's kind of what we're going to be exploring here in these print shop episodes. Slam, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for watching.